All right. Welcome to episode 315 of Together BHA. The good news is I fixed the intro video, so we have achieved more than the Albion did yesterday. And in beautiful timing, Adam, I just received my digital ticket for Villa to download about 25 minutes ago.
Oh, that's
How are
nice.
you?
Great. I mean, I feel like we just need to. That we can't even. The pleasantry is even worth it at this point. There's just a giant elephant in the room that we need to talk about.
Well, I think normally, right, I structured this to try and go from kind of like the beginning of the game to the end. And on the drive home last night, I thought there's no way we're going to be able to do that. But actually, I think we have to, because the entire game from before it even started was like a perfect kind of cycle of terror. So I feel like we have to start from the very beginning to get to the eventual namesake of this episode, right? To like understand where it came from. And some of you, if you're new listeners, welcome. There's been a lot of discussion around Hertzler on this podcast over the last couple of months, and some good, some bad. Most of it pretty measured, I think, and realistic in the fact that we don't think there's any realistic chance of him being binned off early or anything like that. So I think it's a bit crazy to start talking about Hertzler out with too much vehemence. But I think we're in a bit of a different state now, Adam.
It changed. We crossed the Rubicon yesterday. That was it. And we talked last time about how this game, for the most part, was sort of a must-win game because of how bad you have been. For all of that, Crystal Palace have been worse. And if you classify this as a rivalry, which I think most people, you have that fine line, right? Rivalry versus derby. This is a rivalry, not a derby. You have to beat your rival who have been worse than you, who are complete disarray. The manager's trying to walk out the door. The players are all trying to walk out the door. Complete mess. And you have embarrassed yourself. I just don't see how you come back from this. We mentioned before, Palace's form leading into this game was, and I'll go from backwards to most recent, loss, draw, and then won against the Albion. I don't even know what you can say at this point. We are now, whether you like it or not, at risk of relegation. Statistically, we are down there in the relegation zone in terms of form with Wolves, Burnley, and Spurs. There's no other teams in the league that have worse form than us and those teams. And you look like an incompetent football team. You look inept. And I think yesterday the bigger difference, right, not just was everyone was sort of finally done with Hertzler. I think the players looked done with everything. They gave up. I've never seen this team in a losing position at home look so uninterested in trying to get back in a game. It's like they didn't even. They were like, "Oh, we've lost. I can't even be bothered to try." And when that happens, it's done. It's game over. I think I'm shocked that we're recording this in some ways, and they haven't made the decision that Hertzler is done.
I think a short week is playing a part. If there actually is any genuine discussion going on, I think the short week is playing a piece of that puzzle. Like I think that's part of it. Do you not think so?
Maybe, but also, so I actually, on a human level, and I think most people probably feel this way, despite how everyone acts on social media. On a human level, I feel for Hertzler.
So much. I said it in the car on the way home, and I said to the missus, I was like, maybe it's just me getting old, like, and I'm an old man now. But like the empathy I have for Fabian is massive because no one ever wants to be even thinking of being in a stadium of 32,000 people that are supposed to be your guys and they're all booing you. No one wants that. Like Fabian, the person, I feel so much empathy for. Like, I just it's horrendous. Like, I wouldn't want that for anybody. Fabian Herzler, the manager, like the business side of things, right? There have been people that I've worked with that I think are wonderful people, and they've been sacked because they're crap at their jobs, and I've been sad to see them go. But my life is made way easier when they bring in someone competent to work next to me, right? And I feel like everybody listening to this show can empathize with that too. And if anyone's younger than that, and maybe they're still like towards the end of school or anything like that, group projects, right? You're in uni, you always prefer the good ones instead of the people who just pop into the meeting at the last minute and try and take credit. So like throughout every era of people that hears it, like you feel the same way, that like you've all worked with people you like, but are crap at actually helping you at doing something. And Herzler, unfortunately, is very much in that situation. And I think, like I said, I think we have to start at the beginning, and that's the lineup yesterday, because Jan-Paul van Hecker won the roulette of random main player getting injured just before the beginning of the game.
You saw those rumors, right? We saw the rumors online that are completely unsubstantiated about him potentially being banned for 2 years from football. It's probably completely fake.
I have not seen any of that. No.
Yeah, there's something knocking about Van Hecker. Something happened, and he's going to get, banned from football. I imagine it's complete nonsense, but it's knocking about on social media. So everyone's got their tinfoil hat on and is saying, there's some connection there. The other thing is people are saying Van Hecker has decided he doesn't want to play anymore to push for a move. I think he probably just injured himself slightly. Is more to the point, but
find it really strange that Naylor has spent more time arguing with fans than actually doing his journalistic work and finding out why Jan-Paul van Hecker is not playing, especially on a short week, right? The good thing is we do have Olivier Boscagli to fill in. Whether he is good enough or not, I think we're going to find out over the next couple of weeks, because if it is like a hamstring injury that I've seen rumored as well, or if he's out for like a lengthy absence, right, like he's going to get plenty of game time. We'll quickly figure out whether Boscagli is a guy or not. But I think the one thing we need to talk about above all else that kind of really scrutinizes this decision-making from Fabian Herzler was we started the day with an 18-year-old new signing from Greece playing up front, and a 17-year-old Harry Howell playing at right wing, making his Premier League debut in terms of starts. Absolutely insane to me, bordering on managerial malpractice to be starting Harry Howell this weekend. Any other weekend, right? Like, but the pressure that is already, we know it's on because Naylor's been running defense for 3 weeks. So to say the club don't know is absolute nonsense. They know the pressure's on, and they know what this Amex atmosphere could turn into if we don't get a good result. And Fabian Herzler plays an 18-year-old as a striker and a 17-year-old debutant at right wing. I mean, what were your views on that? Because mine, I just said, I think it's absolute managerial malpractice. The risk way outweighed the reward.
I think with these types of things, everyone, if you lose, everyone is going to criticize and critique every single decision that you made. Now, if we'd have won this game, everyone comes out and says, Herzler, such a bold move. This is why you have a young manager. They come in and they make these decisions that other managers wouldn't make. You put these players out there and put them on the stage and they can impress. And that is, that's what we signed up for. So he is just a victim of the outcome not being good. But at the same time, I also think he's sort of in a shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic sort of position. Because how often have we heard in the last couple of weeks, Kostulas has got to start. Every time he comes on, he's so good. Kostulas has to start. Well, great. He started him. It didn't work. But he did what a lot of fans have been asking for. The right wing piece is very clear that Minte is not fully fit. And he's been shit when he's come on every single time lately. So I understand if you're not starting Minte. But then you go, okay, well, Who else am I starting at right wing? I could put Ruter out there. Been garbage in his main position. In fact, funnily enough, worst player on the pitch yesterday. You could play Gomez out there, who every single fan has said, please take Gomez out of the team. He's also slightly injured. Every time he's played, the worst place to play him is the right wing. So we don't want him there either, do we? So who else are you playing there? Push Kadioglu up at right wing, who the fans have also said, don't do that. We need to play him, further back. That's not his main position. So I guess in Hertzler's defensive, I don't know why I've taken this stance. He couldn't do anything right. I don't think there's anything that he could do right. The only thing that he could have got right was to win the game. Then all of the rest is noise. But the team, at no point in the last 10 plus games at this, I can't even remember what it is at this point. It's been so bleak. We don't look like a team that understands
12,
what winning
12
is.
without a win
12,
now.
12. We don't look like a team that has the
One
capability to win a game. But we just don't. The football is so drab and mundane that it's almost like someone sat down a bunch of players and hasn't explained the concept of how you win a game of football to them. As in, you put the ball in the other. Because half the time I look at the team and it doesn't appear like they're aiming to put the ball in the opposition's net, which is a crazy thing to say. But if that's what it felt like for large parts of the game yesterday, it didn't look like we were trying to win. As stupid as that sounds.
No, I totally agree with you. Like they really and you look at the build-up play, and it's just awful. Like it's just so slow and so ponderous and so obvious. And then once we get into the opposition half, all of a sudden, Mitoma and Minte, or Mitoma and Howell, are tucked in two central attacking midfielders. And it's like, we have had the luxury of watching Kaoru Mitoma for 3-4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
When has he ever looked effective? When has he ever been played in that position? Because he's not effective there, right? Like, he's effective out wide. And if he fancies cutting in every now and again, like that goal of the season against Wolves a few years ago, let him do it. He's intelligent enough to know when and when not to. But default, he should be out wide, and he isn't. And I think the answer really is that if you're looking at that right wing, I think it goes back to, once again, like the manager and what's going on behind the scenes, is that the obvious answer is, well, Brian Gruder should be playing there.
Well, right. Yeah, sure.
He doesn't want to be here, and we had to get rid of him, right? Or Hertzler doesn't want him here, and he got rid of him. And the secondary answer is, well, everybody on social media, rightly or wrongly, as you say, they're asking for Costolos, and they played him, and he didn't do very well yesterday. But everybody assumed that Veltman would play yesterday. Well, the answer surely is Veltman at right back and Kadioglu further up, and at least you've then got a defensive style. But I don't know. I see. I think it's Sin Seagull thinks Howell will never recover from this. I won't worry that much about it. Managers come and go, regardless of whether he may go a little bit later than we all want him to. Harry Howell's 17. If he's as good as he thinks he is, and we think he is as a club, he'll be just fine. I won't worry about any of this team's future as a developing player in the future, because they're either not going to be here, or the new manager will either get better out of them or not. I don't really worry too much about their careers being ruined so much by Fabian Hertzler.
I got to go back to a comment though in the chat, and thank you everyone for putting your comments in. It's everyone's riled up, I guess. Mr. Rocker is put a little bit earlier. It's funny how everyone's calling for Hertzler's head, but he's got a better record than De Zerbi. De Zerbi had built up so much credibility with this fan base, both in terms of relationship and rapport that he developed with the fans, style of football, and high points, whereby you got European qualification, that you could deal with the low points, which there were many of, and towards the end it was just horrendous. Hertzler's credibility in the bank is losing 7-0 to Nottingham Forest. There just haven't been enough highs to warrant the lows. That's the difference where everyone's got with Hertzler and De Zerbi. It's not down to the overall record. Every manager we've had has gone through horrendously managed poor runs where we've had 10, 11, 12 games where we haven't been able to win games of football. But the reason is no one's reaching out to Hertzler to say, well, okay, mate, we understand. The good times have been so good and we've seen the good football that we know it will come back. We know you're capable of it because we've never seen it. We've never seen it. We saw that with De Zerbi. That's the difference.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like when I think it's someone else has said it, it's sincere goal again. Like the second season drastically skews the metric of
Right.
how poorly De Zerbi performed, because post Rome, it was horrendous, right? Like it was relegation form. It was terrible football. Terrible.
You know, by the way, you know it's bad. We've used the word horrendous maybe 10 times so far. That is the overall vibe of where we're at.
Yeah. And again, like he's managed 74 games, he's only lost 20. Fine. But we are in a position where we are now expecting per Hertzler to finish top 5 this season. That's his words, not ours. That is his words that he has said, that the aim is to finish top 5 and to hopefully win a trophy or be in the mix to win a trophy. Now, regardless of what the data tells you in terms of he's managed 74 games and only lost 20, the current Premier League table tells us we're in a relegation battle. Lewis Dunk's post-match conference tells us verbatim, we are in a relegation battle. And we are under-hitting his expectations massively. And the belief within the fan base is that the club progress and the club identity is going away. And I think this is also all underpinned by the fact that we do continuously seem to be having, over the past 3 weeks, press hit pieces right against the fans, because I think that's because I think that is whether you think it's like worthy or not, there's no doubt that this world is so online that it doesn't matter what area of the fan base you are part of, like someone you know has seen those instances and those interactions and is upset by it, and you're then reading them whether you want to or not, right? So it's one of the, like, my wife is always the best example because she's the perfect cookie cutter Albion fan that Albion hierarchy want. She's a new fan. She's super optimistic. I don't think I've ever seen her put a prediction in that we lose. She loves watching the team. She loves the players. She follows all of them. She like does all this shit. Like she's the classic like online Albion positive fan. Like
yeah.
And she on the drive home last night was like, oh my God, like, is this real? And like showed me like a still of like one of Naylor's tweets. And I was like, oh yeah, he does that literally every week. Like, so, and she saw it and she was like, well, that's bullshit. Like, so she has had it. And I was driving for 3 hours. So I had no way of infiltrating. Like there was like, and it's finding her way onto her feed. So it doesn't matter who you are, like you're going to stumble across this and the response it's getting. And it's feeding itself as it goes, which just makes it even worse.
Well, I think...
And Alex, fantastic timing. You haven't missed Adam's Andy Naylor rant yet. We may be coming to that point shortly, because I just talked about the fact that I think the discontent from the fans is amplified by the interactions we've had lately.
I think Naylor... I'm honestly tired. I'm tired out of talking about Andy Naylor's sort of... How should we describe this? Because Andy Naylor is not a bad writer. I don't think he's a bad journalist. I don't think he's a bad person. But he's one of the most tone-deaf individuals, I think, is his problem.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And obviously, for people that have been living under a rock, if you've read any of Naylor's articles lately, predominantly they've been about you as a fan, you're wrong. You're wrong, and this is how you should feel. The tweet yesterday that came after the game, which was just inevitable. I think everyone was just sort of anxiously awaiting of how is Andy Naylor going to try and ridicule us. Reflecting on events at the Amex today, boos were understandable in the circumstances. Questioning the manager's judgment on team selection and subs a fair game too. You're getting sacked in the morning from his own fans. Utterly ridiculous and totally unacceptable. Now, I wouldn't be, if I were there, I wouldn't be singing "You're Getting Sacked" in the morning. I personally,
For the record, I was there and I didn't sing.
right,
In the morning.
and I think no matter what happens, even if you want the guy to go, I wouldn't be singing that. At the same time, who the fuck does Andy Naylor think he is to think he can police this and think that he is the voice that gets to say what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable? That is where the fans get annoyed at him. Like, what? Who are you to say it's ridiculous and totally unacceptable? Don't tell the fan base what to think and what to say. You're there to report on the status of things. You report on the news and give whatever silly opinion that you have, and we'll choose to read it. We'll choose to pay for the Athletic if we want, but don't tell us how to feel. That is the thing that really frustrates me, and I feel like everyone else with him. Is he comes in and he thinks he's the arbiter. He thinks he's the guy that gets to say how it is, and he's not. Like, know your role, Andy. That is your problem. Anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the issue is that he is. I think because he is incredibly tone deaf, and I agree that I don't think he's a terrible journalist or a terrible writer. He's fine. Like, he is fine. He is a C+ player in the world of the Athletic, and unfortunately for him, he's surrounded by quite a lot of very talented journalists, right, in that
Sure.
organization across all sports, which hurts him more. But I think the thing is that he has quickly found that his path to relevancy is rage baiting fans. And I think he knows that these comments get him more engagement than 6 articles ever will. And I don't think it does compromise his position at the Athletic, because this has been going on for, the best part of 5. He was doing it during COVID, like, really bad.
I don't know if it's intentional.
A new thing. I think the thing is, I think I like to give him the benefit of the doubt back in the day, but I don't anymore, because it's too common and it's too. He seems like glad, like he seems pleased, like, to be able to make comments disparagingly towards the fans. The inflammatory language of, divorced from reality, totally unacceptable, ridiculous. Like, these are echoing David Moyes' comments that we should know where we come from and know our place. What other club specific journalists would you find in the Premier League that's representing Leeds or Fulham going, you know what, the Everton manager was right, lads, you should know your place and shut up? What other journalists do? I would love to know. I know, like, obviously there's no other teams fans listen to this, but, like, I would love to know. Like, I'm going on a Villa podcast tomorrow, and I'm going to ask them what their local journal is like, and if he is inflammatory as Andy is, because I would love to know.
I don't. And people are saying this in the chat, right? We're talking about how Naylor's trying to be the club mouthpiece, and Barber and Bloom have kind of got him where they want him. And I think there is some truth to that. I think Andy sees himself as one of these old guard members of the footballing community that get to look at things, and they've been in it for a long time, and they know how this all works, and they think that they know better than everyone else. And it's this sort of, I think this is we've been told not to talk about politics. I'm going to reference very briefly. You remember when Hillary Clinton came out and talked about the, what was the term she used for the people in sort of middle America? I'm blanking on it. You know what I'm talking about though?
Yes.
I've got to look it up.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Someone say it in the chat. Someone say it in the chat. I'm blanking on the word.
She basically branded an entire group of people.
And I think that's how people feel about Naylor's talking about them. Deplorables. Thank you, Stephen. Deplorables. I think Naylor looks at all of us as sort of deplorables, and we're reactionary social media age of fans who can't look at things with a long-term lens. And he has been around for so long, and he's going to tell us how to feel, because he knows how it works. We're just fickle children. That's how it feels when I read anything by Andy Naylor. That's how I feel. Maybe I'm just projecting, but that's basically the vibe that I get. So I don't think he's ever going to change. He's never going to learn. The one thing I will do is I'll vote with my wallet in that regard. I plan on cancelling for whatever it's worth my Athletic subscription, mainly not just because of Naylor, because he's annoying, because they put bloody ads back in the podcast. The whole point of subscribing was you could listen to some of their podcasts and not have ads thrown at you, and they've added them back in. They're like, oh yeah, we still need to make more money.
Continues.
The shittification continues. So I am not going to fund Naylor's deplorable based rants any further.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk football, right? 64% possession yesterday, but only 2 shots on target at home. We had a worse XG than Crystal Palace, despite them only having 36% of the ball. They had double the amount of shots on target that we did. And once again, it was just a defensive mishap. Dunk was involved, unfortunately, as I was literally just saying before we conceded that I thought Dunk was probably the best player on the pitch. He then immediately misplaced a pass that ended up allowing Ngrosson to put, I think it was Sarr right through to finish. And I think really it sums up the current Albion in general, that within about 3 minutes of that goal, Costolos goes straight down the other end and has a very similar chance saved by Henderson. And the team from then on continue to look like they don't honestly know what they're doing, which the fans also told her, so they do not think the same thing. What did you make of that reaction? Right, we wanted this team to come out and play football with a bit of passion and a bit of energy, and he loves talking about togetherness and energy. It was probably one of the least energetic performances I've ever seen from this Albion side under anyone in a long time. Even under Houghton, they fought for their lives, didn't they? Like, even when we were getting battered by teams, you could see they were absolutely battling for every inch of the ball and the field that they could fight for. We are not seeing any of that yesterday. It was really, really bad. And if there's one game you don't want to see it in, it's this one. And I think something that wound me up even more was that not only did he do the howl thing where he's trying to get cute, right? He's trying to get cute with his Costolos start and his howl start, and it didn't work. But he also flipped the kickoff for us. And that drove me nuts as well, because it's another one for you where genius if it works, but what an idiot when it doesn't. Because I assume I know why he did it, and that was, well, we'll be protecting a lead and they'll be shooting at us at the end, and it won't have that kind of vacuum feel of it working. But the reality is that we were crap. We did nothing with it, and we allowed them to then defend their goal in front of their own fans and embarrass us in front of their own fans and fire up their fans more. That led to almost like a point and laugh situation where we were left to just be hosed in front of our opposition fans, right? And again, that's a decision he made by being cute. Don't change that. Like, keep everything as similar as possible with these situations. But he didn't. He got cute and he got it wrong again. And I've talked a lot, so feel free to address any of that. And then, yes, sincere goal. We are inevitably post-goal going to move on to the fallout from that, because it went from bad to worse after the goal was conceded.
Yeah, I think we touched on this idea of the players sort of giving up before. With the first half, Palace didn't really do anything, unless I'm forgetting. Palace basically just offered nothing in the first half, and we couldn't get a lead. And I guess at this point you sort of have to say, well, is this a tactical issue that Huxley's set up? Is it a mentality issue? Is it a motivation issue? But when you have a level of dominance in the first half, and I know we weren't fully on possession, but we had 55% of the ball, 6 shots. They had 2 shots. They had no big chances at all. You have to get a goal. Now, was that Huxley's fault? Yeah, sure, he's the manager. He has to take blame. There's not a lot of people that are actually pointing at this juncture at the players either. The players aren't innocent in this whole thing. And we'll get on that when we talked about De Kuiper and we've mentioned Ruta as well. The bigger thing for me, though, is the second half. And you come out knowing you need something. You go a goal down and you really know you need something. Because as we all know in these situations, a draw wouldn't have even been good enough in this one, right? Unless you got it at the death, this would be another, we drew at home with a crap Palace. No, you kind of feel at that point, after Palace score, you need 2 goals. We generated in the second half of football 72% possession. Wonderful. Wow. 0.15 expected goals to Crystal Palace's 1.1. We had no big chances and 1 shot. We had 1 shot at home in the second half. I don't care about any of the other stuff, any other stats, players, whatever you want to talk about. That is a fireable offense. I don't care what you're doing. Nothing else matters. You can't do that. That means everything else has fallen apart. If you can't G your players up or they can't G themselves up to try and have 2 shots at home against Palace in the second half, they can't manage that. Then you have a fundamental problem and breakdown, and something needs to change. And the flair and the moment in time, the vibe that we got from Pascal Gross coming back is long dead. It's buried at the back of the garden. That doesn't matter anymore. And Gross is not, I hate to say it to everyone, Gross is still a fantastic player. Everyone's memory where it's like Gross is picking up this team by the scruff of the neck and leading it to victory. Even he's not able to do that here. So something needs to change. Something needs to happen. I don't even know what your question was at this point. Now I'm just kind of like annoyed at the second half all over again.
No, it was more just a commentary on that opening 15 minutes, really. And exactly as you said, like we went into that half time with what was quite a poor performance with not enough conversions of chances. And we ended up with what we saw in the second half. And I think another thing that comes into play here is the substitution. Evan Grasson from Villa come on for Jeremy Pino and played centrally. And the physicality of that changed the battle immediately. And it was actually really fundamental into them scoring the goal because they suddenly got a lot more of the ball for that 5 minutes after that substitution. And that ended up leading to the goal. And we then waited another 10 minutes to make our subs. And it once again goes back to the idea that he may make subs late and we get goals late, but I'm not sure he's winning sub battles by being smart. I think he's just got a strong bench that he's bringing on good players and they're performing with moments of magic. But we brought on Gomez, Minte, and Welbeck, and we took off Baleba, Howell, and Maxim De Kuiper. Booing. Lots of it in my area of the North Stand. And chance of you don't know what you're doing began. I've since seen on the TV, and I think you probably saw it live. De Kuiper was not best pleased about being subbed off. The F-bomb was dropped very, very pointedly in Hertz's direction. And I think the general anger was taking off Baleba and what that means to our midfield over the last couple of weeks, especially in that we seem to lose all shape and idea of what on earth we're doing, which kind of goes back to the song. And it really worked out that way, didn't it? Because there was a moment in that 70-minute area where I text you and I said, we don't have a midfield looking at this from the North Stand. There is a massive, giant open area of space where you have 2 Palace players chilling and no blue and white stripes anywhere near it. The entire midfield was gone. After that, Bart Verbruggen had to go to the bench and ask who was playing left back. And the general sentiment from the team was they had absolutely no idea what they were doing. Jorginho Ruta and Costolos was subbed off for Matt O'Reilly and Jack Hinchelwood. Matt O'Reilly did not get quite the same response back as Pascal Gross did, I'll tell you that much. And
he wasn't that bad.
No, he wasn't. But he certainly did get the same cheer. And I think what's so sad is just how absolute dog shit Ruta was yesterday, playing in a position that's supposed to be his strength.
He's not been good for a while. And
he hasn't.
He has not.
And it just seems to be when you see someone who is clearly a really creative, energetic player stop being energetic and creative, they're the ones when you see players like that just drop their heads and don't really want to be out there anymore. The worry should become really, really bad. Like you really need to worry when the kind of the youthful exuberance drops from youthfully exuberant players. And he is the key one for that like attitude for me. And well, I mean, when you have your goalkeeper asking who's playing left back and you have your left back who got subbed off abusing your manager for the sub. And I will note that after the booing and the chants, De Kuyper walked past us, right, for the as he walked off, and the North Stand was very pointedly giving him like applause to show that it wasn't him we were attacking, which is.
But he was also crap, by the way.
He was
crap.
He was, but it really shows how much this is like digging down into Fabian Hertzler in every aspect, right? Because he was crap. And yet we still applauded him as he went past to make a point that it's Hertzler that is making everybody so frustrated. And Sincere Gold in the chat, where do we start with Baleba? What did you make of the subs in general? And I mean, what did you think?
Well, I will say that one chance that we had, the main chance when Kostulas got through 1-on-1, wasn't that a Ruta touch, little pass, first time pass that allowed him to run on? Am I getting that right?
I don't know, because they decided to switch ends, so I didn't get to see key moments in the second half.
I think
in all seriousness, it was busy, right? Like it was right in the middle of the park where that touch took place. I'm not sure.
I think it was, and that's the thing with Ruta, right? You're waiting for that little moment. He can be awful, and all he has to do is that one thing, a little ball over the top, first time pass, and he creates something that you otherwise wouldn't get. We're just not seeing enough of that. In terms of the subs and then what we did, the disarray was the most fascinating thing. Like you said, I still don't know who was playing left back. I still don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Have one? I don't think we were playing left back.
I've got no idea where anyone was playing towards the end of the game, because at a certain point, Lewis Dunk was up front, right? And when you've put Lewis Dunk up front,
running onto a through ball,
not
the quickest player on the pitch. I think only Pascal would have been worse off.
Like, what are we doing? What are we doing when you're doing that? I think Boscagli started to drift out and sort of play center and left back, something like that. If you look at, do yourself a favor, go look at Danny Welbeck's heat map. It sort of shows him as like a central defender. And I'm not quite sure again what was going on with where Danny was even playing. The width that we had, you talked about the width before. As soon as we took De Kuyper off, De Kuyper was the guy that gave us all our width. As soon as he went off, the team was condensed into the middle of the pitch like this. The only player that offered you any form of width was Ferdi Kadioglu, and he wasn't giving you it in as much of an attacking sense as we've seen in the past. You can't have that level of confusion. That's a bunch of players not knowing what they're doing or where they're playing. The fact that your goalkeeper is asking who's playing left back, you play a system where your goalkeeper is the first person that starts to dictate play and playing out of the back, and he doesn't know where one of his key outlets is or who it is. That is not ideal. That's not ideal. That is poor management. That's poor management. The other thing is, didn't Lewis Dunk come out afterwards in his speech thing? And not only did he talk about the relegation piece, but didn't he talk about we're not training hard enough? Isn't that a phrase that I heard? We're not training hard enough. You can't really say that, can you? That's not a thing you should say. So I don't know. I don't know if your captain should come out and say we're not training hard enough. But the product on the pitch, you look at this and you go, this is a bunch of people that don't seem to know what they're doing. We spin the wheel for substitutions and see if we can get any kind of vibes-based goal that happens. And we showed no signs of that this time. And we've also, let's be honest, after the January transfer window, which we're a weaker team. Again, we're a weaker squad.
Oh, so, without question. Without question.
There's no doubt about it. You're bringing on Matt O'Reilly, Jack Hinchelwood, Diego Gomez. I don't want any of those three coming on when we're trying to get back in. Welbeck, yeah, sure, but he should be starting. And then Minte, who's completely lost the ability to find any kind of form. Oh God, it was summed up for me. Do you guys remember in the second half when he's in a position and he could play Matoma in? He's on the left-hand side. He could play Matoma in centrally, completely unmarked. And he decides to play the ball to the guy standing maybe half a mile offside. And you're just like, oh my God, man, how have you done that? Completely brain dead decision. So I'm looking at that bench and I'm going, you don't have enough strength coming on to change a game for you from that selection. It's still not Hertzler. Hertzler can't look at that and put the blame there. Hertzler has to get it into his head where the system is set up in a way in which the players are semi-interchangeable, but they all know what they're doing. Fundamentally, everyone needs to know what they're doing. These players don't seem to know what they're doing. And that is the biggest issue. Carlos Baleba, if we're going back to the subs, awful first half. And then he started coming into it a little bit more in the second half, and then he was taken off. And that's why I think people got annoyed. The De Kuyper thing, I think, is going to get blown out of proportion, just given where everything is at. Because what player likes to be substituted? No one wants to be taken off the pitch. And he was probably frustrated at himself, frustrated at his own performance, and wanted to stay on and prove a point. And he didn't. And maybe that's just the type of character he is. And he's just a bit prickly. And he's going to be a bit volatile in that regard. And that's okay, but it's not a great sign if you read into it and start to think the coach just doesn't have the respect of the players. And it's not a massive leap if you start to think like that.
Not when it all comes in correlation with the post-match comments, right? Because I think you look at that and you go, I think someone else in the chat has said, is that player code for our manager is shit, or we don't back the manager. He talks lots about togetherness and intensity. Intensity is a huge word in Fabian Herz's press conferences. If you aren't showing intensity in training to the point that the club the club captain is telling you that there is not enough intensity in training, what's going on there then? Questions have to be asked from someone or another, right? Like there has to be questions asked at some point there. Is that also then relating to these random niggles that are coming in? Are they not actually working hard enough? And when they are in that final preparation phase, we're then seeing that spark up because they're getting
Vicente vibes.
Stupid issue. Yeah, for the entire team. That's horrendous. I think I agree with you on the Baleba thing as well. I thought the entire team was poor in the first half, honestly, with the exception of Dunk, who I thought had played really well the entire game until he ended up gifting the goal partially, because there was about three others well and truly responsible for that as well. But it kind of started with him, which was a shame. But I think that is where the frustration came from, is that Baleba was coming into it quite strongly in that second half, and he then gets hauled off for a player that we've just talked about that is not exactly beloved by fans in Diego Gomez. And then he was not played in midfield either anyway, as neither was anyone, which I think is just brutal and not helpful at all. We obviously did not score a goal. We did not look like scoring a goal. I think that's probably the most damning part, is that when the added time comes up and all of this, that we are defending and clearing the ball and, look like we're the ones defending a goal, when actually we aren't even able to boss the ball and put some pressure on late on is horrendous.
This was shades of De Zerbi's final few games.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Very much
final 2 or 3. Yeah.
And what's deeply concerning with that is that we've got quite a lot of the season to go, and we need to not get embroiled well and truly in a relegation scrap. This is not a relegation team, but we're flirting. We're flirting with it. We really are flirting with it. I kind of feel I partially wonder whether the wind was taken out of the sails of these players a little bit based on Piglet's pantry. I feel like the news of them going
the uncertainty.
the uncertainty surrounding Piglet's pantry's future has potentially meant that the players just can't get it up for the game.
I mean, anything is possible at this stage in football. Thankfully for them, they will not have to play another home game now until the 1st of March, because we have 3 away games on the bounce now. Away at 3rd place, Aston Villa, who are in a weird run of form. They're beating the crap teams and not doing so good against the better teams, right? So it's like a weird situation, but those sort of teams, they have to be doing it. They're 5th in home form. They're very good. But they have lost their last 2 at home. 1-0 to Everton and 1-0 to Brentford.
But do you feel... I don't feel confident going into any game, especially not Villa.
There's no chance of getting a result against Villa. And I'm going. I just... There's no way. Like, our record at Villa is appalling anyway. But I don't see it getting better this weekend. And then we are promptly on Valentine's Day off to Liverpool in the FA Cup, before then visiting Brentford on the 21st of Feb. I'm not sure if the following week is an international break or if that's the FA Cup. I don't really know, but there's no game then from the 21st to the 1st. It's just a short week, isn't it? February is only 28 days. Just me being a clown. Yeah. What do you make of this next 3? Because in a way, he's kind of lucky. And I understand, because Naylor has made the same point that he thinks it's like a good thing that he's got 3 away games now to keep him away from the toxicity of Albion fans. My answer is that the away fans are more vocal, right? Like, we are the ones that generally make more noise than the home fans. And if we put in another stinker at Villa, there will be some pretty bad responses, I suspect. It's going to get really ugly. We lose at Liverpool, and I think that is going to be like the precipice of everyone turning on him, because the last hope for a lot of people is the cup.
Right.
So this next week, like, I know I'm like, oh, this one will be the one soon, right? Like the conspiracy theorists, but like the Liverpool game for me, I don't expect anything from Villa, and it's going to stay as toxic as it is. We lose to Liverpool when we should, right? Anfield, Liverpool, cup competition, you would expect them to win. They're going to be favourites. They should be favourites. And they're sat in 6th in the Premier League. And, they're nowhere near as bad as they were for that horrible run for a while there. They've picked it up a little bit. But we go out of the cup, and for the most positive people in the world, there's nothing left. We're fully in the relegation scrap then. And God forbid results go against us this week, right? We are then looking at going to Brentford only 5 points adrift from the drop zone.
Well, let me scare you a little bit, right?
I'm already scared.
Okay.
I'm already scared.
Let's get terrified. If we think about the idea of, thank God we get to go away, we're worse away from home. So,
significantly so.
Everyone's worse away from home, but we are in the away table, we're 15th. In the home table, we're 13th. We get 0.83 points per game away, and we've got 1.62 points per game from home. The idea that you're better off being away from home is just, sheer nonsense. So I don't think we haven't really had a toxic home vibe apart from yesterday, right? You've been there.
I agree.
So the idea that suddenly he escapes this to play harder football, I don't buy it at all. So you go into these games, you play Villa. I don't see us getting a win from that game.
Last year, for reference, we got a draw away at Villa. which was the first time we got points at Villa in a long time. And we obviously lost at Brentford, and that was the João Pedro quick game, like where he just walked off and punched someone in the face.
Well, right, and we'll probably get upset by a different Brazilian forward at Brentford this time around. But you've got Villa away. Yes, we put the cup game to one side against Liverpool. Brentford away. I don't feel massively hopeful. You then come to a home game against Forest on the 1st of March. Now, Forest are currently 17th on 26 points. Forest, their next game is at home to Wolves. You would fully expect them to beat Wolves at home. Wolves are on 8 points, right? They are not good. That would put Forest on 29 points. We are on 31 points. If they beat us, we then start to get into the zone where we are fully in it. We're in the mix. And that is not taking into account West Ham's games. West Ham have Manchester United at home. Who knows what that means anymore? Then they have Bournemouth at home. There are no guarantees that in the space of 3 Premier League games, we are not staring down 16th, 17th place in this table if we don't fix this.
The only positive I will say is that West Ham's fixture list, there's one left where they can look at as like a relegation 6-pointer. They have nothing. They have played all their easy games. That's it. Like the rest of their fixture list is hard. Like Manchester United, Bournemouth, Fulham, Man City, Aston Villa, Wolves at home will be the one that you would expect them to get a result from. Palace, Everton, Brentford, Arsenal, Newcastle, Leeds on the last day of the season. Now, you look at those and you go, well, some of those are a bit easier. Almost all of the ones I named where you go, they're a bit easier, like your Palaces, maybe your Fulhams where you think they could get a result, maybe your Brentfords if they're like kind of just stuck in mid-table. All of them are away. Every single one. All of their games that you think are easier are at the other place. So they're not easy anymore.
Well, hold on. I'm going to counter that point because if there's one place in the Premier League where you are better as an away team, it is West Ham at the London Stadium. Their home form.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
They are 19th in the home table. They are 12th in the away table. That is how pathetic their stadium is. And their home atmosphere. They are a better team away from home because it's almost impossible to be a better team playing at the London Stadium at home. It's just not a place.
But they're winning games, aren't they? There's your problem. 3 wins on the bounce now in the Premier League.
They've got some form. And they're finding form at the right time. We've forgotten what the definition of it is. The fact that we are having a discussion about whether we are going to end up in 16th or 17th position in the next couple of weeks is in and of itself a travesty and cannot have been in Bloom and Barber's planning, even if you plan for bad eventualities to play out. The question becomes, at what point do they look at this and go, we have to make a switch or we risk going into the battle properly. I don't think you're very far away from that. I really do not. If results don't go your way in the next 3 Premier League games, I think they have no choice but to make a decision. And then you're in a really horrible position because this club likes to operate from a position of strength and future planning, not, oh shit, is Sam Allardyce available? Right? Because you're going to bring in you can't bring in a risk at that point. You can't bring in a guy from a lesser league that's not proven and lob him into the Albion in 17th place in the Premier League table with a handful of games remaining and say, go and fix this, mate. You're bringing in a steady hand, quote.
I think it's Crofty. I think that's what they do if they do it. I think they literally go, he's the guy that's got the tenure. He's been here through the last 2 or 3 managers. Doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not. I think if they bin him, I think that is their view on things, is that they take the gamble on Crofty being enough to get us a couple of wins to get us to safety. That's my view. I can't help but wonder when that trigger is pulled if the form continues, though, because if we lose to Villa, Liverpool, and Brentford, and like, do you then give him? And it's not to say like it's overly negative, right? We've lost at Villa almost every game ever away from home against Villa. Well, definitely in the Premier League era. And we took 1 point off of them last year, and that was the first point in a long time. And you look at the Liverpool away game, it's Anfield, you expect to lose, rightly or wrongly. And then Brentford, we've got a terrible record at Brentford. We do all right against them at home, but generally away, like, it's usually home team advantage pretty massively with those two teams. If we come away with those out the cup and 0 points from our next two, do you entrust this? Do you entrust Hertzler with this 6-pointer?
I don't entrust Hertzler
or not.
with anything.
Like, do you get what I mean though? Like, do you go, oh well, you God forbid you lost to Forest at home, and like with 2 points from the drop, like now you're gone, or do you go, do you know what? Like, enough is enough. Like, we're out of the cup. You've lost to Villa. You've lost to Brentford as well. With 4 points from the drop, 5 points from the drop, we're not even going to give you the chance to come back to the toxic environment. I don't know. Like, what do you think?
If it's up to me, if you go out the cup against Liverpool, he's gone.
That's when you pull it.
You have to make your decision. If you're not doing it now, that's when you do it. You've got a week gap there, and that way you're not taking away the cup opportunity from a guy. Because if you beat Liverpool, I mean, come on, let's see what happens there. But let me pose this to you. I know we've done this a few times in the past, but honest opinion based on everything that you're seeing right now. What's your result against Villa? Win, loss, or draw?
Have you seen this breaking news that just came out? Hertzler is not gone. But if this is not going to turn the fans against it more, have you seen this from Mike Keegan 15 minutes ago? Exclusive. Brighton accepted a bid from Nottingham Forest for Lewis Dunk. He is the one who turned the move down.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So Mike Keegan is chief sports reporter at Mail Sport. Whatever you think of the Daily Mail, their sport area is pretty good, pretty reputable on stuff like this, especially. Yeah. I'm not subscribing to read their garbage because I'll never put money in the Daily Mail's coffers. But
wow, interesting. Someone, Mr. Rock, is it common practice to accept and leave it up to the player? No. Only if you think you're getting value. I think they see one more year in Lewis Dunk, and they thought they could cash in on him. They would have kept Coppola, and it would have been Van Hecke, Boscagli with Coppola backing him up, and bring Igor back in, and you have the depth. I think that's the decision that getting rid of your club captain and legend in a January transfer window to a potential relegation rival is fairly disgraceful. But it comes down to, it shows you just how much this is treated as a business, how much this club is looked at as a business. That is a business decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's pretty damning. That's not a good time for that news to come out. I wonder, as you say, the timing of that news is intriguing.
Yeah, it feels like he's sat on this for a week.
Yeah, you don't just find that out.
No.
Where's Andy with that? Andy, why didn't you put that out? Surely you knew that. Where's Naylor in this? I want to go back to the form though, because we'll come back to that. I'm a bit shell-shocked by it. Away to Villa, win, loss, or draw?
Loss.
I'll skip Liverpool. Away to Brentford, who are currently 7th in the table.
Loss.
At home to Nottingham Forest.
And that is because both of those teams are very good teams as well, right? Like, we're away from home, and they are both very good football teams. So I would expect us to lose to them both. Unless we were flying, I would expect those results to be, like, hopefully a draw against Brentford and probably a loss against Villa, because the bastards always beat us, right? Like, regardless of how well we're doing. So, like, it's not, people say we're super negative sometimes. So I'm just clarifying that those two fixtures are particularly tough generally for the Albion anyway.
I don't think anyone can accuse of negativity. Guys, you have to look at the facts here. We've had one win against the side that is going down out of our last 12 games. There's no big positive vibe in that. Let's go. I want to go back to it. Home to Nottingham Forest. What do you get from that?
We win. We have to win. There's no other discussion in that conversation. We must win that football game.
We had to win against Palace. What about Arsenal at home?
Yeah, look at the reaction when we didn't.
Arsenal at home?
Loss.
I'm going to say Sunderland away, but I want to provide some context for that. We beat Sunderland, obviously, right? As an away team, they are 17th in the table if you just do away games. Do you want to have a guess where they're at in the home table?
Probably top 4.
They're 4th. They're a Champions League side if they just play at home.
We're
away to Sunderland. What do we get from that?
Nothing.
Then you play Liverpool at home.
I can actually see us winning that, genuinely.
I'm saying that because that brings you to the end of March, and you could argue there we're getting 6 points out of that group if you're hopeful.
Yeah.
Then you play Burnley away and Spurs away, and those games are make or break your season.
Yeah. Our third from last game of the year is home to Wolves, by the way. What an awful atmosphere that might be.
I think you have to. Something has to change. I said this back in the January window, not that was that long ago, but right at the start of the January transfer window, I said you had to do something to change this situation in some capacity, or you're just going to keep getting the same stuff occurring. The Dunk signing wasn't enough, no matter how everyone wanted to feel about that. It was great to pick him back up, great, but it's not enough, and nothing else has changed. You've got rid of more players. You're playing the same football. You have to change something. I don't understand how this turns around at this point forward. I think it is broken now, and a decision has to be made, whether you make it now or whether you make it after the Liverpool game or whatever it is. If you continue with Hertzler and this team for the rest of the season, that is a gamble. I know Tony's a big gambler. That is a gamble. That's a gamble.
And I think you go back to the Houghton days where we saw us get pasted by Cardiff and Bournemouth and someone else. One of them was 5-0 right at home, Bournemouth, I think. And never once, a lot of people would get wanting Houghton sacked then, by the way. But if you watch those games, there was never once where it looked like they didn't want to play. It looked like they were really trying to play at times, and they were just outclassed in every area of the pitch, and the morale was just on the floor. But Houghton turned it around and dragged them kicking and screaming with the experience he has. The experience he has throughout his football management career. We don't have someone designed for a relegation dogfight in the Premier League, or love him or hate him. Like, he's not someone built to do that for a football team. Like, it's just, it really isn't. And there's another one here that Tim in the chat has said, can you explain why it is a rivalry and not a derby? So for those that are unfamiliar with the terms, a rivalry is, as you would expect, a rivalry. It is against generally two teams that hate each other very much, fierce competition. between like two teams that are related to each other in ways that are maybe not geographically based, right? So you've got your United Arsenal is a good one, right? Like they hate each other. Big one, nowhere near each other, opposite ends of the country. And a derby is very much a geographical one. So North London derby, Arsenal, Tottenham, Merseyside derby, Manchester derby, Time Weird derby. Like all of those are generally same cities, neighboring cities, very close range people like that. And the intensity there comes from territory as well, right? So when you're talking about it, most derbies are rivalries, but not all rivalries are derbies.
Yeah, there it is.
And that's like the classic phrase that I'd written down in prep. Not all rivalries are derbies, all like blah, blah. So for us, it is absolutely not a derby. Like it's just not. We are 50 miles apart. It's not
M23 derby is the closest you'll get. That's not.
And it drives me. I hate
kosher, is it?
So much.
Not
I feel
kosher.
like that was created by Football Manager, and people have jumped on it. I despise that term. It's just absolute crap. Like you're not going down to like Sainsbury's and bumping into like your Palace fans in the Sainsbury's, are you? Like that's. But if you're in Liverpool, you are bumping into Everton and Liverpool fans at the same place regularly. You are bumping into not United and City, they don't live there, but you're not bumping. You're not bumping into these people, and that is in long form the difference between a rivalry and a derby, and why we both believe that this is not a derby and is very much a rivalry.
You know, I'm interested. People that are in the chat right now, just a simple stay or go is on Hertzler. Is anyone still a stay on Hertzler? Is anyone still keeping Hertzler? I'm curious as to whether we're just fully deluded or not. But who's outside of Bloom and Barber? Who's
and Hertzler?
And maybe he doesn't even want it. Who still wants Hertzler?
And I think the second question as a follow-up to that I would love an answer to as well, because I think there really is only one answer, and it's the really obvious one. But is there anything he can do to make you Hertzler in if you're Hertzler out, outside of the very simple, blunt situation of winning football games? Like, is there anything that this team can do if they end up, performing much the same and we scrape our way to safety? Is there anything in that run that Hertzler can do stylistically or personally to win anyone back? Or is it really now down to the fact that unless you start winning games, we don't want you?
I think I'll answer for the chat. I'll answer for the chat. I think he would have to do a multi-step approach here. Step one, Milner never steps foot on the pitch again this season. Just for the memes, you don't give him the appearance record. Hertzler just never brings him on again. Step two, massive cash injection to Piglet's Pantry from Hertzler's own bank account. Step three, Southern Rail overhaul, complete logistics overhaul of transport to and from stadium. I think then people might be like, all right, we accept the fact that the product you put on the football pitch is some of the most mundane, turgid football we've witnessed, but we'll take that because of all those things that you've done. Outside of that, unless he completely changes his entire tactical setup, mentality and approach,
and an overhead covering for the queue at the train station.
There you go. Overhead covering, yeah.
At least for when it rains. And widen the bridge in the bridge car park.
I think if someone masterminded a plan to fix the transit to and from the stadium, it might be statue worthy.
It might.
We get relegated and he still get one.
Honestly, yeah. Well, I mean, if we get relegated, the transit issue drops down a bit when 10,000 people. Let's go.
Oh, good. So there's more context here to this news that came out from Keegan. Brighton Bubbles now tweeting, Lewis Dunk was left, quote, surprised after Brighton accepted Nottingham Forest's bid for him. The club thought, given his service, he deserved to be presented with the opportunity to move elsewhere. So I think that, if I'm translating that correctly, that's one of the ones where you go to Lewis Dunk and his agent and say, if you want to find a new club, feel free, as opposed to saying, you're going to Forest, we've accepted a bid. And I think that's normally the way in which you do that when it's someone that is, less of a pawn on the chessboard and more someone that you offer a bit more respect. The fact that he would have entertained it, though, is an interesting thing. It just wasn't the right spot for him to go to. That is a fascinating thing that has come up, that we were going to do that. Fascinating.
Good for the pod, though. Good for the content.
Yeah, great for content. Devastating for the football team. It goes back to
a time like today. Yeah,
we talked about this a few weeks ago. I think someone asked a question when we had a bid come in for Ayari from Forest, and we made the point about clubs don't randomly send bids in without thinking that there is an opportunity to buy a player or get a bid accepted. And I think that speaks exactly what has happened here with Dunk. Forest isn't just like calling up and going, all right, 5 million for Dunk. You in? They've sent this out. Yeah. Someone said, yeah, Dunk is potentially on the market for you. Put this in. And then you can chat personal terms if you need to. So the club has clearly, allowed that to have occurred.
Yeah. All right.
Interesting.
I think we are ready to move on until Villa. With the state of the club where we are, I would really quite like to do a midweek one if we can, based on our schedules. So we'll work it out offline. We'll circle back.
Oh, God, don't, please.
But no, we will. We'll chat, and we will really try and get a pod out either late Wednesday once I get home, or Thursday afternoon, evening, sometime, even if I just have to stay up really late. We'll try and get something, because I think we're at a stage now where we really quite need to just have these conversations. So we will be back hopefully Wednesday, Thursday to talk through Villa, and then Sunday, as per usual, at the same sort of usual time, I would imagine, to talk about whatever happens against Liverpool in the Cup. I believe it's a late kickoff as well on a Saturday, right? On the Valentine's Day game.
8 p.m.
8 kickoff.
Yeah.
8 o'clock kickoff. Fair play for everyone going to that one. We just can't justify it in terms of the amount of money we've already shelled out on away games lately. So we'll be back this midweek, and I want to say have a good week, but it seems that if the club aren't kicking you while you're down, the revelations will continue to do so. The bad revelations will continue until morale improves, I guess.
Well, let's leave on one semi-positive thing. Look at Man United's form. If Hertzler is our Amorim, look at Man United's form, whether by luck or by judgment, after Amorim comes out and they bring in Carrick/Crofts to steady the ship. That is potentially in our future. So
I made the same comment on the Finalysis review. Like, it doesn't matter how much negativity we have and how much people go, Andrew Crofts isn't fit to do this. Keith Andrews was a set piece coach for Brentford and has got them 7th. He absolutely could steer this ship, given how long he has been here and the identity. He was our first ever interview on the podcast. So like, we've been going, 6-7 years now, and he was our first interview 2 years in, and he was already working for the club. So he knows what this club is all about, and he definitely has the respect from the players. So there is a world where I am very comfortable with sacking Hertzler and keeping Crofty short term to see if he is able to do this. And I think I'm also looking at it from a point of view if it doesn't get worse than where we're at anyway. So like,
we're deeply close to emergency podcast territory.
Yeah. All right. We will be back midweek. The last comment is, shouldn't Veltman play every week he is fit? Yes, I think so. And I hope we see it on Wednesday. So we will see you soon, and have a good 2 days.
Chin up.